I'm back. You know, my phone actually shut me down because actually I delete every video, everything, because of lack of memory space. That's bullshit. I'm here once again, sitting shivers for a Jew-hating Jew named Charlie KRUEGER, my brother, that asshole. Here you go. Well, I can always say, why do you need glasses when you have a bottle? And I'm going to jump right to the point I was making 15 minutes ago. My brother Charlie walked on and got a scholarship from Bear Bryant. Bear Bryant didn't resign from Texas A&M. He was fired because he was notorious. All you people, all you Aggies listening right now, this applies to Gene Stallings too. Gene Stallings was my brother's teammate, and he was completely gay for Bear Bryant, and killed a young player too. I'm going to get to that real quickly. You know, my old coach Jack Lamar Lewis told me in his 90s, around 90, 91, that he had on the field kicked his son in the ass, which is the most painful thing you can do to a person. It'll just completely cripple them for months. I'm the only person in my family I've been over 1,400 fights, whether in this country or others. Actually, only about 500, 600 in North America, USA. Actually, I've never had really any problems with Canada, because them Canadians can kind of tell right off the bat that I'm going to kick their ass. But anyway, this has been my style for a long time since I learned it early on. Was, when somebody's swinging at you, you grab their arm, spin them, and plant your foot right in their ass, and they will go down, 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 down. They're not going to get up. It's one of the most, non-lethal blows you can deal to a person is planting your foot in their ass. But you know what? Bear Bryant did it to my brother Charlie, who was a walk-on at A&M when he was 16. Yeah, I graduated high school at 16. I stayed around for another year to give them their first championship ever it was just actually a league championship, actually a district championship, not a league championship at Carlmont. They hadn't seen one since the school was built and when I was born in 1954. But early in life, I learned one of the things you can really do when somebody's going all crazy on you is grab their arm, spin them, and plant your foot in their butt. That's what Paul Bear Bryant did every day at A&M, not at Alabama, because I know they stopped him from doing it at Alabama because it crippled players. You kick somebody in the butt, they're down for like 2 to 3, 4, 6 months. They can't function. I've done it. No, I know from firsthand experience. Like Red Foreman in a 70s show when he talks about, I'm going to break my foot off in your ass. He may have known from a fictional life of fighting, maybe in World War II or something like that, that planting your foot in somebody's butt just cripples them. Now I'm going to start getting crazy on here. I already mentioned Bear Bryant, Gene Stallings, etc. Now, in 1968, local sports writer Jim Butler lost his job because he wrote an article titled, "Where Are the Aggies?" He couldn't find them. And it's because they weren't there. In the fall of 1968, August of 1968, Gene Stallings and Elmer Smith, now dead. Gene Stallings is still alive because probably he's really good with the drugs and shit like that. They beat an Aggie player to death, which looks just like a football practice session death, yes. And I know the whole story because part of it was told to me by my brother and by another player who left the Aggie team immediately, one Ted Thomas Edward Davis. You can't con me, motherfuckers. And actually in 97, I had some extra time, was puttering around the Bryan Library doing research and stuff like that, and I looked at all this stuff up. That kid that Gene Stallings killed was erased from history completely. I even brought in she was like this big knockered, kind of homely, but she would jump on any dick that was presented themselves. Even called in the head reference librarian, who led to me eventually being banned from that library because she couldn't take me turning her on all the time. I'd call in about what do you got on spermatogenesis or whatever. No, that's not pronounced Chatham. It's pronounced Chatham, Massachusetts. So they couldn't stand being corrected at the local or anybody that was really investigating real biology in the Bryan Library. It's not the old Carnegie Library that I grew up in. It was a brand new building that was shut down for a whole year, which is really suspicious. May get that another. It wasn't suspicious. It was totally, we know why they shut it down for a year. Anyway, I even drug her in. I pointed out when I brought it up on microfilm that the football player I was looking for, his obituary was cut out of the newspaper before it was sent to the microfilmers, the convicts, and I think at the Ellis unit in Huntsville, Texas. That's where they did microfilming of all Texas newspapers to be then placed in local libraries. They just totally erased that kid. And I know from the testimony, because my brother Rolf was then already playing for the Niners after St. Louis, but he came back from one game. He was totally doped up, man. He was high on that morphine and shit. You know what I'm saying? And he started talking. He just wanted to talk to somebody before he fell asleep. I'd gone in to look for something or whatever into his room in the duplex in Redwood City, California. And he told me when he was stoned out of his mind, he told me part of the story, but only Thomas Edward Davis's brother told me the rest of the story, which then I was able to put together. In about 1968 or so, a senior linebacker, made an accusation against a junior linebacker that was about to take his place because he was better, to Gene Stallings, regarding the fact he said he was talking about your son. He called your son a retard and shit like that. And by the way, Gene Stallings' Down syndrome retarded son died at age 46. For you looking. he was super sensitive about it and stuff like that. And he was such a weird fucker. I remember after the Cotton Bowl where my brother and the Aggies beat Alabama, Bear Bryant in Alabama, 20-16 at the Cotton Bowl in Texas. And he came out going, "Hey, Ruthie, Ruthie, Ruthie." That's his name of his wife. I know more shit than you fuckers will ever learn. So, there's really no doubt, because like Jim Butler's pointed out, he couldn't find, because he was there every day for workouts and stuff like that. As Jim Butler, the Bryan Daily Eagle, now just known as the Eagle newspaper, their sports writer, who he was immediately fired and was followed by Jerry Wagner. He published a story, "Where Are the Aggies?" The Aggies were in hiding. And actually, until they got their story straight, they actually called home. And being the child assigned to answer the phone, "Hello, Krueger residence, Thomas Kent speaking. Who may I ask is calling, and who are you calling?" They called and told me that my brother Rolf had some reaction to penicillin. That's bullshit. And would be in the university hospital for about 3 days while they got their fucking story straight about the murder of a young man whose name I do not even know. This is for all you people out there that voted for Biden and stuff like that, that don't know how tight the mainstream media covers up for people. Actually, I may do that later. I'll talk about how many times Charles Andrew Krueger was arrested in Belmont, California, trying to break down the French doors of his own house where his wife was the only legal occupant. Stuff like that. I may get to that. I may not. In this, I just want to cover the fact that back in the day, Gene Stallings and Elmer Smith, long since deceased, beat to death an Aggie player for making a false accusation about a junior player, because that junior player knew that, Gene Stallings was totally fucking, he would go ballistic if you made any fun of his retarded son, his only son, who died at age 46, which is like fucking 30 years ago now. Look, all you people that lick the nutsacks and worship people that play ball and NFL and stuff like that, you're a bunch of fucking losers. I was going through this stuff and looking shit up. I came across the highly overproduced, but San Francisco 49er endorsed, and probably paid for it, little biography of Dave Wilcox, which I really don't even remember Dave, because certainly Dave didn't hang around my nasty brother Charles and stuff like that, but they paid a shit ton of money to make that nice movie about what a great guy Dave. Actually, Dave Wilcox only caught the guys that got past my brother. I want to remind you, the same thing that my brother Charles knew. He was a technician. He loved football. I just did football, and naturally. On the defensive line, there's all these numbers. 0 is the center, and then they go out left and right. And from 0 to 5, and actually, Charlie was only in charge of from 2 to 4. From 0 to 5, I still hold the world record, the absolute world record of fucking guys up. -8 yards per game average from 0 to 5. because when I was real young, we went to a pro front four uh, defense, and so I was responsible from 0 to 5, from center to 5, which is usually defensive end. And you can't take this away from me. You can say all the smack you want to say, but from 0 to 5, I was the best guy that ever played, because actually me and Charlie were left-handed. You know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali, which I told you before, I watched him work out at the gym on 5th and Washington and South Miami Beach before he got his ass beat by Leon Spinks. But one thing I noted was that he moved like me. I go counterclockwise and float up and stuff like that. And the genius of Muhammad Ali was that he fought like a left-hander. He was dyslexic, but he fought like a left-hander. And I got to get back to Charlie right now. My brother Charles was a complete loser, but because actually I proved in high school, et cetera, and going into college, that you really couldn't gain this. They always said you couldn't gain any yards against Charlie KRUEGER. That's because he waited. Actually, by the time he retired, he was already like positive 3 or 4 yards. When I quit the ball, which he quit the ball, he resigned because they wanted to get all 3 KRUEGER brothers to beat the Olsen family. Actually, the youngest Olsen quit about the same time I did, from Brigham Young and Utah. I still hold from 0 to 5. I still hold the defensive lineman all-time record of -8 yards per game average. And my high school team, which if you look at my high school senior team, there was one giant, me, and I was surrounded by these tiny little soon-to-be Silicon Valley guys at Carlmont and stuff like that. And the reason that we set the will be I think there's actually another state record before that, but the reason we set the state record of less than 42 yards average per game was because of me. Because you couldn't get around me, you couldn't get close to me. I blocked up, actually, from -2 to 2 points to the right, to 7 on the. I had the entire defensive line covered because my lateral mobility was awesome. And I'm not on here to try to brag or nothing like that. Charlie could never beat my height, strength, speed, and lateral agility. He could never do it. He could barely handle from like 1 or 2 to 3 or 4. And still, he played too long. It's one of the things that me and Rolf get along on, is that you didn't know when to quit. He should have quit much earlier, but, he didn't have any other real source of income. That was the real problem of my brother, Charlie KRUEGER. He didn't really have any other source of income. And then he had to wait for his wife to pony up money for him to buy the first Charlie KRUEGER deli and liquor in Concord, California, in the East Bay. So it's almost 20 minutes. I just want to remind you that I know you, Gene Stallings, you and Elmer Smith beat to death a player. Oh gosh, what? For 50 something years ago? Yeah, almost 50 years ago. And you got away with it. Over 100 of the top insiders in College Station and Bryan, Texas, covered the fact that you killed that kid. and you got away with it. You're an evil bastard, just like my brother, who played for Bear Bryant, who kicked his players at A&M in the ass every fucking day, which is really stupid. Like I said before, if you want to cripple somebody, you kick them in the ass. It's so simple. If you've never really been a fighter like me, I want to go out here and point out that I already told you before in my other channel that my brother Charles and my brother Rolf, I'm going to touch on the bar stool thing here, are just known cowards and stuff like that. Before I go, I'm going to go very quickly here. It appeared in the newspapers and stuff like that my brother Charles had sued a bar because their bar stool had collapsed. No, not according to Rolf, who was there, and others who were there. My brother Charles KRUEGER was fucking hammered. He sat down on a bar with all of his weight, which by then he was like weighing 300 pounds. He was been out of the Niners for years. And the bar stool collapsed, and he injured himself, and then he tried to turn around. In his embarrassment, he tried to turn around and sue the bar owner for having a defective bar stool. Look, I've been after a lot of people legally, but Charlie KRUEGER and his many lawsuits are just hilarious. Suing a bar owner when you actually just fall down and fucking hurt yourself in a bar. That's fucking just ridiculous. Charlie KRUEGER, trust me, almost everybody in Burleson County in Caldwell, Texas are glad that you're finally fucking dead. Fuck you. I'm not sitting shivers for you. I'm sitting shivers for me and drinking plenty of wine and enjoying the fact that you asshole. I may bring up my mother's funeral in the next one. We're glad you're gone, Charlie. You were a complete asshole.